up here now. So hopefully you can see me. And I also need to figure out how to remove this overlay here. So just a moment while I sort that out. So if you could, in the chat, let's go ahead and check the chat, check the comments. Go ahead and leave me a note, say hi, so that I know that this is working, since this is my first time here, clearly, as I'm trying to remove this. All right. Wonderful. I am thinking I probably might have gotten into a little bit of trouble with this technology trying it out the first time. I did try, nope. I did try to test this a week or so ago, and it went well. But for those of you who, I think this will work. Let's try it. There we go. Okay. So for those of you who are familiar with using technology like this, sometimes it can be a bit tricky. So thank you very much for your patience. All right. So let's go ahead and get into this material today. What I would love to share with you is this upcoming opportunity I have for speaking fluently, for improving your fluency. And what we'll talk about before that, though, are some things that you can actually implement today to sound and feel more fluent. So during this session, I'm going to share with you some techniques to help you sound more natural and more clear in English, how to keep people engaged and listening when you speak, and how to kind of have a mindset that helps you out as you speak. I'm also going to be giving you early access to that Speaking Fluently Learning Lab, and I'll tell you a little bit more about it. It's a 4-day experience where you can learn what you need to about speaking fluently so that you can start 2026 communicating with new clarity and confidence. I also am going to be sending you, if you attend today, a free mini guide called 3 Daily Fluency Habits for Professionals. All right, so that's that. I hope that you're looking forward to it. If you could, go ahead and leave a comment. I'm not sure if the comment section is actually working or not. I don't see anything now. So feel free to do that. Also, if you're on LinkedIn and you're watching this, you can DM me on LinkedIn and I will see that you have written. So we can be in touch that way if the comments here are not working on StreamYard. All right, wonderful. So let's get into this. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because I talk to a lot of sustainability professionals, and people tell me that they feel like when they're at work and they're speaking English with people, they feel like people don't hear them, like they don't listen carefully to what you're saying. I don't know if that's something you struggle with, but this feeling of being ignored at work because of your English, it hurts, doesn't it? Now, I've been a lifelong English speaker, but I do speak Spanish. I have worked in Spain. I've worked in Mexico. I used Spanish in my day-to-day life there. So I know how that feels to have that feeling that you are not expressing yourself well and people are not really listening to you and giving you the credibility and attention that you deserve as a professional in your field. So when you speak fluently, though, your confidence shines through more. And because of that, what happens is that people will listen to you more and you're going to be speaking more because you'll be feeling better about what you're saying. So maybe you work with English speakers in a multinational team. Is that true for any of you? Again, I'm going to check the comments to see if it's working. No. But anyway, if you're working with a multinational team or you live abroad and you don't really have many opportunities to practice, then you're going to want to practice and get fluent. right? But practicing is not the only way to get fluent. It's a very important way, but there are some things that you can do today that I'll hint at. And then in the Speaking Fluently Learning Lab, I'm going to tell you exactly how to do them so that you immediately start sounding more fluent as you are working on practicing, as you are building your vocabulary, as you are improving your grammar, right? So here's the thing. If this is you, if when you speak English, if your ideas are good, but when you try to explain them, the words don't come out, that's a problem with fluency, right? When you do this, what I just demonstrated, that hesitation where you're looking for a word, that's when we are not fluent. So if it happens a lot, that's when we're not fluent. Sometimes we just have brain farts. We just have moments where we forget what we're going to say. That's natural. But if you are speaking with people as part of your job and you have these thoughts afterwards, like, oh, that was not what I meant to say, or I did not sound very confident there, or why can't I speak the way I think, right? If those are thoughts that you have, then this is something that you should be considering seriously. How do I build my fluency? How do you build your fluency? Because that way you'll be able to mean what you say, you will sound confident, and you'll be able to speak what you are thinking. So if it's you, don't worry, it's very common. And there are ways that you can get past it to become fluent, to speak automatically. So it's just a fact. English is the most widely spoken language in the world by people who grew up speaking other languages. So whether you're working in renewable energy, conservation, green tech, ESG, environmental engineering, whatever, if you're struggling to speak fluently in English, you are not alone. All right, so let's make sure that you are listened to during meetings. Let's make sure that you do not miss any opportunities to show your expertise. And mostly, let's make sure that you feel comfortable sharing your ideas, because we need to be able to live in this world where we've got some pretty serious climate challenges. All right, so let's have a look here. Before we get started with the content, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Laura Wallace, and I have been helping sustainability professionals from around the world to speak fluently and confidently now since 2020. But I have been teaching English since 1998. So a couple of decades. Specifically, I've been working with high-level English speakers for 20 years at this point. And most of my experience has been with working with people who are at the university level, specifically with graduate students who are pursuing their masters and their PhDs. More specifically, I have worked a lot with international teaching assistants. So these are graduate students who also need to teach at the university level. Now, as you know, whether it's teaching or whether you are giving presentations, whether you're facilitating meetings, it's important to be able to speak at a pretty high level so that people know what you're trying to say and they can connect with you. They want to hear what you have to say. They want to share ideas with you, so that way, you can get things done. All right. Anyway, so I've been helping people for a long time with that. My background is in linguistics, so I have deep knowledge about how the language works. I have also, been a lifelong learner of linguistics, of teaching English, of teaching speaking strategies, of teaching pronunciation. So I regularly attend conferences in this, and I also have written and published a number of things on this, and I present regularly at conferences as well. So this is the world I live in, is the world of helping people to speak effectively and confidently, and I'm so glad that you are joining me today. All right. So let's have a look at 3 topics. The first that I'd like to bring up for you that you can use is this idea of speaking more smoothly and more clearly, especially more clearly. Now, to start with this, I want to bring up an example from, and this is something that if you follow me on LinkedIn, you probably read about it the other day. But one of the people I work with, she's from Nigeria, and she grew up speaking English. English is her language. But when she moved to the United States and she was speaking with her colleagues and trying to generally live her life in the United States, she found that people were not understanding what she was saying. And I'm sure you can imagine this. That was incredibly frustrating for her, right? So not being understood can be really hard. So when I spoke to her back in September and we were talking about challenges she had, she told me about this and how it was really discouraging for her that anytime she tried to talk, people would just, sorry, come again? What was that? They would ask her to repeat herself. So what I advised her to do is what I'm going to advise you to do. And the first thing is slow down. I know that sounds kind of obvious, but it's a lot easier said than done, right? So slowing down your speaking rate can help you and it can help the listener. It can help both of you, right? So think about it for a second. If you are explaining something that's complicated and you haven't really articulated your thoughts on that topic, whether it's English or whether it's your first language you speak, it can be kind of challenging to get that idea out, right? So when you slow down your speaking rate, it gives you that time that you need to, choose your words a little more carefully, to think more carefully about what you're going to say. And that really makes a huge difference. I know it did for the person I was just talking about. So it helps you, the speaker, but it also helps the listeners, because when you're talking with people who are not yet used to your accent, and everybody has an accent, by the way, we all have an accent. If you're talking with somebody who's not used to your accent, slowing down is going to give them that opportunity to tune in to what you're saying so that they can understand what you're saying a little bit better. All right. So that is one of the keys to speaking clearly, slowing down your speech. Part of that, of course, is pausing between sentences. So don't just speak continuously like this, because if you talk nonstop like this, it doesn't really give anybody a chance to think and consider what you're saying. So even if I speak more slowly like this, if I'm not pausing, it's going to be hard for you, right? So when you heard that pause, it was probably a brief moment of relief so that your brain could catch up with what I'm saying. All right. Now, so those are the first 2 tips that I have for you for speaking clearly. Slow down, pause between sentences. And when it comes to speaking more smoothly, that is often more of a pronunciation issue. So speaking more smoothly, again, if English is not your first language, there are going to be some difficult words to pronounce. And that's totally natural. Just like when I'm speaking in Spanish, there are some words that are difficult for me to pronounce. And the way that I was able to get to the point where I can pronounce them so that people understand me is what? Practice, of course, practice. Practice saying it out loud, right? But you have to know what you're practicing and you have to know which words are difficult. So the 2 things you can think about are, which are the words that you're struggling to say, that you struggle with, right? That's the one. So that takes some self-awareness. As you're talking about something, maybe you're preparing for a meeting, you're saying something out loud to start explaining it. If you notice that you're having a hard time just saying a word, that's when you should stop and make a note, write it down, so that you can go back and listen to how it's pronounced and then practice that, because you need to coordinate your muscles to be able to say that word more clearly. So that's one thing. The other thing is identifying words that people won't understand. That's more tricky. Now, if we go back to this idea of everybody has an accent, right? That perfectly illustrates what was going on with the person I was working with from Nigeria. So there are a number of words that have a different rhythm to them and a different vowel sound, like the most noticeable vowel sound. And so it's important to know which words those are. So that way, if somebody doesn't understand, you can say the word a little bit differently in what would be a more clear way for your listeners. So now let me give you another example. Another person who I was working with he's researching photosynthesis in desert plants, I believe, right? So this idea of photosynthesis, when it comes to desert plants, there are several things that we still don't know. And he was getting ready to share some really important information with other experts in the field. But he discovered that the way he was saying photosynthesis was not clear. So think about how you say it, photosynthesis. Well, the way he was saying it, I can't imitate it, but he didn't have enough syllables. The word stress was in a different place. I think he may have had a different vowel sound. Regardless, when he realized that, he thought, oh gosh, I've been saying it differently this whole time. I need to change how I pronounce it so that way these experts know what I'm talking about when I speak. So what he did was I helped him to figure out what he was doing, but more importantly, what he needed to do to say the word clearly and smoothly. And so I gave him some practice techniques, which I will be sharing in the Speaking Fluently Learning Lab. And he practiced, and now he says it just fine. And a few weeks ago, he went and he spoke with those experts to share his ideas. And he said it went great, and he felt so good, and he felt confident. And importantly, he had already spoken with some of these experts, and in a conversation later on, he said, hey, by the way, did everything that I said, did it make sense? You know, were you able to follow me? And one of the experts said, oh yeah, it sounded great. In fact, this was such a good presentation. I've heard you present before, and it was so clear. Did you practice a lot? And he said, well, I mean, I practiced some, but I was working with somebody to help me. So what does this mean for you? What this means for you is if you're having a hard time speaking smoothly and speaking clearly, remember, slow down your rate, pause between sentences, and figure out those words that you need to say differently so that they come out more smoothly. All right. Now, if you take the Speaking Fluently Learning Lab with me, then you're going to learn how to do this strategically and comfortably so that you can speak more naturally. And I'll tell you a little bit more about the Speaking Fluently Learning Lab here shortly. But there are two ways that you can join. If you want to join just the low commitment, low cost, they're both low cost, but if you want to join that version of it, then what you will do is you'll learn the techniques for doing that and you'll do it yourself. But I also have a VIP version. So if you would like to get more practice, if you would like to get my feedback, think about taking the VIP version, because we are going to have practice on the calls. We are also going to have a private WhatsApp group so that you can practice between the calls and get my feedback. All right. So that was the first tip that I had for you. The second tip that I have for you is to use your voice so that others stay engaged in listening to you and so they understand you. Now, a lot of times what happens is when people get into situations where they want to be clear, they flatten out their tone, they speak at the same rhythm. they don't emphasize any words more than the others. It sounds like what I'm demonstrating now. And if I talk this way the whole time, what's going to happen? Do you think people are going to continue listening to me? Probably not as much, right? So there are two things that I'd like for you to try today. And these are things that I, of course, will be teaching about in more depth in the Speaking Fluently Learning Lab. The first, I mentioned slow down before. Well, you don't want to speak slowly the whole time, right? If you speak slowly the whole time, you will make people fall asleep. So the trick is to make sure you know when to speed up and when to slow down. So what I usually recommend for people, and this is something that English speakers naturally do anyway, is when you're talking about something that's easy to understand, when you're talking about something you're excited about, you're going to speed up your speaking. But when you need to explain something more carefully, something that's more complicated, that's when you want to really slow down. All right. So the first tip there for engaging others is to change your speaking rate. The second one is to emphasize key words. Now, in English, what happens is we notice certain words because people say them more slowly and slightly higher in pitch. So let me say that again. In English, we notice keywords. What was the word that I emphasized? In English, we notice keywords. Notice was the word that I emphasized, right? So I really stretched out that noticed. Now, emphasizing keywords is how people will really follow what you're saying. And that's a huge topic. I don't really have time to go into it here today, but I will be talking about it in the Speaking Fluently Learning Lab. So I hope you join me for that. Because when you emphasize keywords, people can more easily and more quickly understand what you're saying. Now, here's what happens if they don't. And tell me if this is something that you've experienced, because I've heard a lot of people tell me about this, where they'll be in a meeting, they'll be going over something, and they realize that the person they're talking with doesn't understand what they said. And so what they do is they just say, you know what, never mind, don't worry about it. And they end the meeting early and they go back and they type an email with all of the information. That is so much wasted time, right? So if you have to take the time that you were in the meeting and then go and send an email about what you said, what they should have understood, right? That's wasting your time. It's wasting their time. It's also not good for the environment to add more email messages into the world. So anyway, what you want to do is emphasize the key words, play with your speaking rate, and in that way they can follow you better. They can understand you better. They will pay attention too. And when they pay attention, you won't have to repeat yourself so much. All right. So in the Speaking Lab, in the Speaking Fluently Learning Lab, you're going to learn how to do that, regardless of which version you take. But if you take the VIP version, I have a workbook for you. And the workbook has practice activities that you can do. The workbook has explanations, it has examples, it has all kinds of helpful stuff that you can come back to and review periodically as you continue to level up your English. So I hope you'll consider that with me. All right, so the second point was speak in a way that others stay engaged. Now, the third thing that I'd like to share with you before I tell you more about the Learning Lab is that you can build your confidence in English. And you build your confidence in English in a few ways. Oh man, this is a whole entire course. I teach a course called Confident English Speaking. So let me see, how can I summarize this for you? I think really the main thing here is to build confidence in English, especially if it's not your first language, is to have a learner mindset, right? Just understand there's always something you can learn, even if you're already a good English speaker, even if you got a really high IELTS score, but you haven't really spoken English that much and you don't feel comfortable. If you have a learner's mindset, that you can always learn, it's really going to help you. Because when you are open to learning new things, when you practice what we're doing, when you do what I said with the slowing down, pausing to give yourself some more time, all of that is going to add up into confidence if you practice it enough. Because one thing I like to say is practice makes fluent. Not perfect. Practice makes fluent. So, I want to tell you briefly about one of my clients who I've been working with in a coaching capacity. She's living in the United States, and she is a scholar from Brazil. And she came here to do some research and has been living here for several months. Well, she was really frustrated because you can imagine somebody with a PhD, somebody who's been teaching and researching for years in her own country, comes here thinking, okay, yeah, I understand everything I read in English. It's fine. She got here and realized it's different when you're interacting with people. And so thankfully, as it turns out, one of her children is in the same class as one of the children is one of my friends. And my friend, who she knows, we used to teach English together at the university in my town. Anyway, so my friend said, oh my gosh, you need to work with Laura. She's the perfect person for you. And thankfully she did, because we started working in the summer together just a few months ago. And I sat down with her and we talked about what her problems were. We talked about what she wanted to be able to do with English. And as I was listening to her, I kept track of those things that were making her hard to understand. So in her case, she's still really refining her grammar. So she can understand, she understands what she reads. In a similar way, I understand Portuguese, but I can't speak it. Well, her English is way better than my Portuguese. Anyway, what she's doing is she's still refining her grammar so that she can speak precisely. She's also still building her vocabulary. Now, she understands so much vocabulary, but when it comes time to speak, she was having a hard time saying it. Why do you think that is? Well, I'll tell you why. And this is something really common. We all experience this. This is why I don't speak Portuguese, much to my extreme sadness. But we have what's called a receptive vocabulary, and we have a productive vocabulary. Receptive vocabulary are all those words that you can understand when you read them, when you hear them. Productive vocabulary requires a different process in your brain, because productive vocabulary requires you to remember the words and be able to say them or write them. And if you haven't been speaking English like her, she was in Brazil. Most of the English she was using was written English, and she was reading, so she didn't have that practice speaking. So anyway, with her, so that way, so that she could build her confidence in English and build her fluency, she and I have been working on building up her vocabulary and making her grammar more precise by really focusing on the specific things that she needs to work on. I'm not using a book. I design all of my lessons based on what I hear she needs. And this is what I do for my coaching clients. Anyway, so she and I have been working together once a week for a couple of months. And the other week, well, actually, I think it was like a month ago by now. Anyway, she said to me, oh my God, I am so happy. I'm so proud of myself. This is the first time I've been able to explain my research to somebody in English. She had gone to a dinner party with some colleagues, and they, of course, were asking, oh yeah, what do you do? What do you research? And she was able to talk about it fluently. Why? Because we worked on her personal things that she needed to do, but also she's been using some of these speaking fluently techniques. And I'm so happy for her. Like, that is why I do what I do, right? I love it when people can finally use their voice. They can finally express themselves, share their thoughts, because when we do that, when we connect with other people, we can really make good changes in the world. Now, if you do what she does and you practice consistently, that's the point here. If you want to build confidence, you must practice. If you practice consistently, you will get fluent. And practicing, you have to speak. So what helps is if you know where you're struggling. So in the Speaking Fluently Learning Lab, I'm going to teach you how to assess where you are struggling with fluency all by yourself so that you can do it whenever you want. Now, if you take the VIP version, I'm going to be giving you some specific ideas so that it's done for you. You don't have to do it. It's good to be able to do it for yourself, but I understand what it's like not to have time, and just give me the advice. Just tell me what I need to do. That's what the VIP does. I'll be doing that for you. I'll tell you, okay, this is where you're not sounding fluent. This is why. And then we learn what you can do. So how does that sound? All right. If you are following along, let's see if the comments work here. Again, this is my first time using this particular technological platform. And yeah, so I don't know if it's quite working, but leave me a comment if it is. I always have to drink tea. All right, so I don't see any comments. We'll see how that goes. All right, so those 3 tips that I gave you, those are 3 things that are going to help you to speak fluently. Now, do you want to hear about the Speaking Fluently Learning Lab? I hope that's a yes. So English for Sustainability, which is my company, I'm the only one who works here. I offer a low-cost learning lab. These are learning opportunities that are designed to empower sustainability professionals and enthusiasts to speak English more effectively and confidently. Because to solve the problems that we have ahead of us with climate and with, God, so many things, clear communication is essential, and fluency is a huge part of clear communication. So I will be, I think I have it on the screen. You can see at the bottom of your screen, I have a website there that has been scrolling on the bottom of your screen. That's where you can sign up for the Learning Lab. And I will be sending anybody who registered for this the link to it as well so that you can sign up. But in the Learning Lab, let me tell you what you're going to learn, and then I'll give you the basics so you can decide for yourself if this is a good thing for you, okay? So what we're going to be doing on the first day is I'm going to be sharing what is fluency, because a lot of people don't know what it is. And if you don't know what something is, how can you practice effectively? How can you build skills for a nebulous concept? Right? So we're going to get into that the first day so you understand what fluency is and you learn ways to increase your fluency. So that way you can speak confidently and effectively. Day 1 is going to be December 2nd, by the way. So we'll be meeting Tuesdays, Fridays. Day 2, which is December 5th, Friday, we are going to be getting into, well, are you fluent? So I will share with you an easy way for you to assess your fluency on day 2. All right, and then the following Tuesday, for some of you, this will be the last class, and that is day 3, how to practice effectively. So like I said, I go to conferences, I read the literature, I publish things, right? I know what you need to do to practice effectively so that you're not wasting your time, so that you can just focus on what you need in order to become fluent. And that's what we're doing day 3. Now, day 4, this is open for the VIP experience. This is where it's all about practice. Practice makes fluent. And I'm going to share, we're going to practice activities together, actually. That's day 4. Okay? So join me for that. and you'll have an opportunity to get my feedback as well. Now, these are the same techniques and the same information that I've used for decades at this point to help both sustainability professionals and graduate teaching assistants to sound more confident and more effective when they are interacting with other people. And it's something that's going to help you too. For example, let me tell you about a graduate student who I was working with from Iran. She's so smart. Her grammar was excellent. She had a huge vocabulary. This woman's English was amazing, but she could not say a single phrase without a filler. So if I had to demonstrate, let me demonstrate. It would sound like this when she spoke. So it was just constantly interrupting. Does that sound familiar? Is that something you do? It's common, it happens, but I taught her the same thing that I will be teaching you in the Learning Lab. And guess what? When I spoke with her literally 2 weeks later, 2 weeks, she had pretty much eliminated all of the unnecessary fillers. And those distracting interruptions were gone. She sounded so much more confident, and she was really ready to step into her role. So that's awesome. Doesn't that sound good? All right. So that is, those are what we're going to do. The 5th day is also for VIPs only. That's Tuesday, the 16th of December. And that's going to be a question answer period. So any questions you have, whether they are personal, like, hey, can you listen to me and tell me? Or if you have questions about the techniques and the strategies, just ask. And that's what I'll be going over on the last day. All right. So that's how I've structured it. Are you ready for the basics? All right. Now, here are the basics. Are you a busy person? I know I am. I'm a little bit really, really busy. Yeah, that's why I'm really hoping that this technology worked and you'll get to hear this. If you aren't listening live, maybe you'll hear this recording. Please send me a message. Let me know it works. Anyway, if you are a busy person, this at very minimum is a 3-day course. And if you do the VIP version, maximum 5 days. Okay, so we are talking 3 to 5 days, 3 to 5 live meetings if you can make it. Now, the way that I'm going to structure it is I will share the content first for everybody. And that will probably take about 45 to 60 minutes at the most. And then after I share the content, the VIPs will stay on the call and we'll get to practice some of the things and I'll answer any of the questions that you have. So for VIPs, each of those 5 sessions, if you choose to attend all 5, are going to be 60 to 90 minutes. All right. So that's the time commitment. That's it. There's no homework. If you want to get more out of it, you're going to practice it. But if you just attend the calls, I think that's enough. Now, if you cannot attend the calls, if you take the VIP version of the program, you will get the recordings. So you can listen to the recordings on your own time, with your own schedule, at your own pace. And you'll have access to our group on WhatsApp throughout the entire period from December 2nd to the 16th. The reason why I hesitated is because I think I'll probably open the group up on December 1st. But anyway. All right. So if you have a busy schedule, if you can make time to do at least 3 or 4 of these sessions, you're going to learn what you need to learn. And if you do the VIP, you get the recordings, you have complete flexibility. Now, money. Let's talk about money. I know things are getting more expensive in the world these days. So if you feel like you don't have a lot of money for improving your English, think, what happens if I do improve my English? What happens if I speak confidently at work? How would that change things? Would I have more opportunities? Okay, there's that. But here's the deal. If you really need to watch your expenses, I am sharing this Speaking Fluently Learning Lab with you for 50% off starting today. I'm not going to bother waiting till Black Friday. It's just going to be 50% off as long as you join before the start of the Learning Lab. Okay, so what does that mean? If you do the basic general admission, where you get to come and join me live for 3 days, it's going to be $10, 10 US dollars, not 20. All right, so for 50% off, $10 for the basic bare minimum 3 days, come join me live. Now, if you want a more full experience with more feedback, if you want the access to the community, if you want to be able to stay on those calls and get your questions answered by me, if you want my feedback, my personalized fluency assessment, if you want the workbook so you can go back and look at that and use that, the VIP, it normally would be $198. I'm selling it for $99. So 50% off starting today. You can join me with this VIP and you'll get the recordings, the workbook, the community, my feedback, personalized fluency assessment. I might be forgetting something. Anyway, yeah, for only $99. So think about it. How do you value your confidence? How do you value your ability to speak fluently? Because this course is me taking my 20 years of experience and knowledge, and I've packaged it into 4 days. So that's an extremely efficient way for you to learn. All right. Another basic, safe space to practice. How many of you are very self-conscious and you don't want to practice in front of other people? You feel kind of goofy being in a classroom with others. You're shy. Well, this is perfect, because if you need a safe space to practice, that is one of the hallmarks of everything that I offer. It's always a safe place. I make sure that people are, first of all, the people who join are usually really nice people, thankfully. But in the group, I'm monitoring the chat. I'm making sure that people are treating each other with respect. So anyway, you can practice with what you want to practice. You can practice on your own. Or if you do the VIP experience in the community, then you can record yourself and get my feedback if you want. It's up to you. So however shy or not shy you are, it's a safe place for you to practice. And only the people who register for the Learning Lab are going to get to practice, only the VIPs. Okay. So, all right, let's see here. Anyway, the other benefits is that if you want something different and fun to look forward to, please join me, because usually these are fun classes. People laugh, we have a good time, and we work through some English problems. So if you are in the mood to develop your skills in a short workshop, please join me. Register for the Speaking Fluently Learning Lab. You can see the link there at the bottom of the screen. I'll send it to you later as well. But yeah, just, really, if at minimum 3 days for up to 3 hours, you're going to already find that you're speaking more fluently. In fact, I hope that by the end of this call that you have taken those tips that I gave you and that you're thinking, oh yeah, I can see how that would work. Well, imagine if you get to practice, and imagine if you get feedback and you have a systematic way of doing this instead of 3 random tips, right? So we start December 2nd. Again, I'm giving this to you for 50% off because I want everybody who wants to join. If you are from a place that is under extreme economic hardship, or you are under extreme economic hardship, or our countries don't play nicely with each other and you literally cannot buy anything from the US, but you really want this, send me an email and I'll give you directions on how to apply for a scholarship. I'm going to be letting in a few people on a scholarship basis. So you're going to want to contact me as soon as possible for that, so we can have it in place by December 1st if you're eligible for the scholarship. Okay, it's very easy. Just send me an email and say scholarship for the Speaking Fluently Learning Lab. All right. So if you're wondering if this is for you, well, ask yourself, is this for me? And think, how does that feel? Do you feel like oh yeah, or I don't know about that, right? So if you're not sure, you will get the most out of this if you already have enough of an understanding of English to understand what I'm saying. And if you can already speak in English, right? I'm not saying speak perfectly, but I'm saying that you have enough of a grammar and enough vocabulary to be able to express your basic ideas. And yeah, if you can do that, and if you're an accomplished adult with experience and knowledge, you are, you're doing good things in the world, just join. You're going to get better. You're going to get better. Okay. So if you're worried that you're not good enough, if you're worried, I don't know if I can do it, look, it's 3 days minimum. So just ask yourself, can you put aside time to practice for 3 days? Can you join the live call? The time we meet in Eastern time zone, it's the same as New York. I'm not in New York. I'm in Ohio. It's 12 to 1 o'clock. So 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. EST. And you'll see the dates in the website if you click on that website. All right. So ask yourself, can you show up for that live? If so, join me. If you can show up for some of the dates, but you need recordings for the other, join me with the VIP and you'll get the recording. Okay. So if this works for you, or if you know of anybody who you think, oh my gosh, this person would love this opportunity, please share it with them. I would so love to welcome you and a colleague, a friend, a family member to this learning lab so we can all learn together. If they are not a sustainability professional, that is okay. Okay. I do want sustainability enthusiasts, at least. So people who care about the environment and who want to do things better so that way humanity can continue to live on the planet. But yeah, you don't have to be a sustainability professional. I do want you to be an enthusiast, though. All of the context is in that, right? So good. Let me leave you with one last story. So I've got one of my clients who already graduated. She lives in Spain. She mainly speaks English at work. And she's one of those people who's just really hardworking, right? She knows her stuff, but she demands a very high quality of work out of herself and other people. Well, she used to, when she would have to give a presentation, right? Sometimes she'd have to go take a train to Madrid, give a presentation to a crowd of people from around the world. And what would happen is she'd be there at this conference, for example, and all of her colleagues would be out partying. They'd be out, having a beer, staying up late, talking to each other. And she instead, after dinner, would say, okay, good night. And she would go back to her hotel room and just get on the computer and work on her slides and just really prepare and practice. But when it came time for her to give her presentations, her mind would go blank. Why? Because she was not fluent at that point. She worked with me on these techniques, and now she can go through any situation remembering her practice and remembering her preparation because she has the techniques and she has built her fluency intentionally. And that's what makes the difference. So now she's able to go out and hang out with people if she wants to stay up a little bit later. Yeah. So if any of that sounds familiar, this is for you. I hope that you'll join me. We start December 2nd, but get registered as soon as possible, because if we get too many people for this, I am going to have to close registration. So I really hope to invite you on soon. If you have any questions at all, just let me know. I will be in touch with you if you give me your email. So you see the link there at the bottom of the screen. Go there, sign up, or if you have any questions, you can find my contact information on that website as well. Just send me a message and I'll be happy to help you with whatever questions you have. All right. So thank you so much for being with me. It was a real pleasure talking with you asynchronously. So anyway, sorry I couldn't answer your comments on the call, but I do thank you. Let me know how I can help you. All right, so speak up for yourself, speak up for the community, speak up for the planet. Let's get fluent.